Father's Day celebrations or contradiction. The contradiction, let's talk about it. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Silence Screams Loud Strength, Unmasking Justice. I'm your host Samantha, and today we're talking about Father's Day. Today is actually Father's Day. We are told it is the day to honor, gratitude, and celebrate, a day to recognize love, protection, guidance, and presence. For many families, this is exactly what it is. But for others, Father's Day carries a very different reality. What if the father of your children is not a protector, but a source of their pain? What if the day does not feel like a celebration, but a reminder of the contradiction you live with every single day? You brought children into the world together, legally, socially, and biologically. He is their father, but in reality, he may be the architect of their trauma. How do you reconcile these two truths? And how do you explain to a child, someone you can hold the title of father and yet fail to provide the safety, stability, and love that title implies? How do you navigate a world that celebrates fatherhood while ignoring the lived reality of children who experience fear, manipulation, instability, coercive control, emotional harm, and all sorts of trauma that comes from it? That is what we are talking about today. Not from a place of bitterness and not from a place of revenge, but from a place of truth. Because truth matters, and children deserve adults who are willing to tell it. The legal and ethical divide that most families face. So from a legal standpoint, society starts with a default assumption: fatherhood equals involvement. Fatherhood equals access. Fatherhood equals participation. Fatherhood equals importance. The law often begins with this position, that a child's welfare is served by maintaining a relationship with both parents. In principle, that sounds reasonable. In healthy families, it is often the case, but there is a difference between a principle and a presumption. And sometimes because systems are attached to the title of father, that they fail to examine the behavior of the individual holding that title. The law moves slowly, often far more slowly than the lives of the people affected. It relies heavily on evidence, procedure, disclosure, reports, and assessments. Meanwhile, children continue to grow, and children are growing within this environment, experiencing, learning, adapting, absorbing, and in some cases, suffering profoundly. The ethical question is much simpler. There is no automatic honor in being a father. Honor is earned. It is earned through protection. It is earned through consistency. It is earned through responsibility. It is earned through kindness. It is earned through accountability. A title is granted by biology. Respect is earned through conduct. And that distinction matters. Because when we confuse title with character, we create a dangerous blind spot. Alienation is not the same as protection. One of the most damaging, misunderstood, and misunderstandings within family disputes is the failure to distinguish alienation from protection. These are not the same thing, and yet courts continue to make a mistake on this very topic. Alienation occurs when a child is turned against a parent without legitimate reason. It is driven by hostility, manipulation, or desire to damage the child's relationship with the other parent. Protection is entirely different. Protection is what happens when a parent recognizes genuine harm and he acts to reduce or prevent the harm. Protection is not about revenge. Protection is not about punishment. Protection is not about winning. Protection is about safety in the interest of the child or children. The difficulty is that protection and protective parents are often placed in an impossible position. If they say nothing, the child remains exposed to harm. If they speak, they are accused of creating a conflict with the other party. If they raise concerns, they are accused of hostility. If they document behavior, they are accused of exaggeration. If they seek help, they are accused of alienation. The very act of trying to keep a child safe can become evidence against them. And that contradiction leaves many parents feeling trapped by the system, trapped by procedure, trapped by the very system that's supposed to protect them. The reality children experience, children are often far more perceptive than adults realize. They may not understand legal terminology. They may not understand coercive control. They may not even understand the personality structures, but they understand how someone makes them feel. That is important. They understand unpredictability. They understand fear. They understand walking on eggshells. They understand tension. They understand when affection is conditional or withheld from them because of something. They understand when love feels like a transaction. Children learn from what they observe and how they feel, not what they are told. There is a distinction. A father who speaks about responsibility but avoids accountability teaches them something. A father who demands respect while showing none teaches them something. A father who humiliates, intimidates, manipulates, or controls teaches them something. Children are always learning, always. The question is, what are they learning? Do they know what they are doing? One of the most misunderstood questions people ask is whether individuals with high narcissistic or controlling traits know what they are doing. The answer is often more complicated than people want it to be. What many survivors notice is something interesting. Introduce accountability, introduce witness, introduce documentation, introduce recording devices, introduce independence, scrutiny, and behavior often changes. The rage softens, the traits disappear, the manipulation becomes more subtle, the performance changes. Why? Well, because accountability changes behavior, because visibility changes behavior, because consequences matter. They matter to them. What matters is not whether we can see inside another person's mind. What matters is what we can observe from their behavior and conduct and accountability. And what many people observe is striking. It's striking. It's different between behavior conducted in private, behavior displayed in public. That distinction is important because safeguarding matters, and safeguarding focuses mainly on conduct, not image, not status, not charm, not reputation, but conduct. So, the post-separation realities many survivors or many people believe abuse ends when the relationship ends. No, it does not, unfortunately. That is not always true. For some families, separation marks the beginning of an entirely different phase. The control changes form. The methods evolve. The tactics become more sophisticated. Children can become leverage. Money can become leverage. Housing can become leverage. Court proceedings can become leverage. Communication can become leverage. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for control. And yet society often struggles to recognize this reality because it expects abuse to look dramatic. Coercive control is not dramatic. It's accumulative, visible, obvious, undeniable, but coercive control rarely announces itself clearly. So, it often operates quietly through pressure, through intimidation, through confusion, through exhaustion, through systems. Yes, the legal system can be weaponized, and through repeated attempts to force others to question what they know to be true. Well, choosing truth over tradition. So how do you navigate Father's Day when your reality does not match the greeting cards? How do you celebrate a title that has brought so much pain, so much discomfort? You start by refusing to lie. You do not need to manufacture admiration when it does not exist. You do not need to force celebration where there is no safety. You do not need to rewrite history to make other people feel comfortable. Legally, you document, you record the facts, you understand the difference between parental responsibility and harmful behavior. You understand the importance of evidence. You understand the importance of safeguarding your children. Ethically, you teach your children something even more valuable. You teach them that titles do not define character. You teach them that respect is earned. You teach them that love is not fear. You teach them that protection is not control. You teach them that healthy relationships do not require silence, intimidation, or compliance. Most importantly, you teach them that truth matters above all else. Not because truth is easy, but because truth is the foundation upon which healthy lives are built. Father's Day should be a day of celebration, a celebration of good fatherhood, of men who protect, of men who are mature in nature, men who sacrifice for their children, of men who show up, men who create safety rather than fear, men who understand that fatherhood is not a title to possess, but a responsibility to honor. For those living in contradiction today, may you feel a difference, and it's okay to feel some type of way. Your responsibility is not to protect appearances. Your responsibility is not to participate in fiction. Your responsibility is not to perform gratitude that you do not genuinely feel. Your responsibility is to your children's well-being, welfare. Your responsibility is to the truth. Your responsibility is to breaking the cycles that should never be repeated. That takes courage. That takes strength. That is parenting, and often it takes standing alone for a while. But it matters because children deserve more than titles. They deserve safety. They deserve honesty. They deserve love. And they deserve adults willing to put their well-being above social expectation. Thank you for listening. This has been Silence Screams Loud Strength, Unmasking Justice. Please subscribe to my podcast on YouTube or Spotify and help me to grow the channel. And don't miss any episodes. Until next time, stay strong, stay informed, and never underestimate the power of truth.